Hi, my name is Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Ever felt a little edgy or a little biker? Okay, me neither. I can't pull off that look. I wish I could. I found some leather trim, thought it was really cool, and thought I'd pair it with some fabric I got in a mystery fabric box. Okay, so I don't really look biker in it, but it's still fun. So there you go. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications. If you're ready, I'm ready. Biker in a box, here we go. Or not, you'll see what I mean in the final reveal. Stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for being here. Here is the black knit fabric from my mystery box, and it had holes, so I have to be creative and work around those. And here is the fun leather trim I found. I am returning to my usual way of patterning from clothes I already have. You have probably seen this tank top before in some of my previous videos. Anyways, the fabric in the top is folded in half and lined up on that fold. I'm tracing the outline with fabric chalk. I always tend to have fit issues around the armhole, and I read that if you subtract about an inch from the armhole, it should fit better. So I'm gonna try it by chalking the side in an inch. This is stretchy knit fabric, so I'm going to leave the sides as is, but add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the armholes and neckline and an inch to the bottom. Cut it out and you have yourself a front piece. Same thing for the back of the tank top, just fold it in half and line it up on the fold of the fabric. Chalk around the edges, add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the neckline and armholes, leave the side alone, and add an inch to the bottom. Next, cut it out and you have the back piece. The front and back pieces look very similar, so I'm gonna mark the back with a B for biker. So in between the front and the back pieces, I want to add the leather trim as a side seam. Line up the right side of the trim to the right side of the front piece. And if you have clips, I recommend using clips over pins because pins will permanently pierce the leather, even though there is a soft edging to this particular trim. Right here is where I checked my work and found that the fabric slipped and did not attach together. So I took that opportunity to do the step that I actually missed and finish the edges on both the front and the back on my serger. A zigzag stitch on your sewing machine works too. Just like we did before, line up the right side of the trim to the right side of the fabric. Clip together to attach the trim. This time I am leaving a little of the serged edge out to make sure it doesn't slip or show from the outside. Which worked perfectly, so now I can just snip off the excess. Finish attaching the rest of the trim to the sides the same way. So far, everything is going right, so there is no way that could last. I'm cutting 2-inch wide strips of fabric for the straps and binding, and for the first time, I'm actually doing it the right way. You're supposed to cut it on the bias of the fabric, which really just means cutting on the 45-degree angle. I'm making double fold bias tape by folding each edge to meet in the middle. Iron that flat, and then fold it over again and iron flat once more. The black fabric makes it very difficult to see, but there should be 4 fold lines. With the shirt inside out, line up the top of the unfolded bias tape to the top edge of the fabric. Pin in place, and when you get to the middle of the V, straighten the fabric and just continue pinning along the top edge. Next, use that first folded line as a guideline to sew on. When you get near the V, just go slow and keep arranging the fabric to make sure it doesn't pucker. So it's super difficult to see, but when I looked closely, I've actually ironed the bias tape with the wrong side of the fabric out. It's barely noticeable, but it would so bother me. So out it comes. I've re-ironed and re-sewn it the right way, and now we're back to where we were. Turn the top right side out and smooth the bias tape up. Fold over once to meet the edge and then fold over again to enclose all of the raw edges. Add a few pins, treating the V the same way. And sew as close to that far edge as you can. And I finally won the bobbin race. It did not run out before the fabric did. After winding a new bobbin, it's always a good idea to do a quick test stitch on a scrap piece of fabric. The test went well, so time to turn the scooped neck back into a V-neck. Face the two ends right sides together, lining up the middle. Chalk a guideline to sew. It should look something like this. Give it a quick press with your iron to make it lay completely flat. Use the same bias tape process to bind the top edge of the back. And here's where things went south real quick. The fabric kept getting sucked up into the machine. So I started and ended the stitches with a little piece of tissue paper just to create a small barrier. Just tear away the tissue paper and remove any little pieces that got stuck. Fold over the bias tape, just like we did before. Pin in place and sew. And then here's where it went south again. It kept getting stuck. Seam ripped and resewn. We're finally moving on to the straps. Fold the top so that the side seams match and line up more bias tape starting at each armpit. To add some structure for the straps, I am adding some clear elastic I had left over from a previous project. Pin the elastic starting where the strap begins. Measure out the length of your strap. Mine was 11 inches. And then continue pinning the rest around the other side, meeting again at the armpit. I hope you can see this. To have a finished edge, fold in the end of the bias tape at the armpit. The other end will just overlap by about ½ inch. For now, just sew the armpit side, leaving the strap free. Here's a better view of what that folded over edge looks like. The same way we attached the previous bias tape, fold down the top to encompass all of the raw edges. When you get to where the strap starts, be careful. Trim off the overhang and then be sure to fully sandwich the end of the bias tape within the strap. Pin or clip in place. And then to make sure that the elastic stays within the strap, fold it within one of those 4 folds. And then pin those in place. Top stitch this bias tape / strap in place by sewing along that far edge. Obviously, you'll need to repeat this entire process for the other strap. Double check your work to make sure everything was sandwiched correctly. The only thing left is the hem, which is pretty easy. Just fold the fabric up twice to hide the raw edge. It got a little tricky around the leather. But my awl tool was super handy in keeping the hem straight and made the leather behave. I hope you've enjoyed my leather trim twist on a pretty simple tank top. And it's so versatile too. Just look at all the everyday chores you can do while pretending a small leather strip makes you look tough. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this ultra tame biker video.